it will be. I think it will be Theis kicking off. He's the partner. So I will wait my turn, which also gives me the chance to hand off my little daughter to my wife that just came home.
And it also gives me a chance to apologise because I was saying Theis, not tired. So I apologise.
Yes, it's Theis. It's Theis. Yes. If he's only had some technical problems with his with the where we both had, because talking about cyber risk and resilience, we're actually not allowed to install the GoToWebinar software on our PVC machines. So so we had to dial in by phone. I don't know, Theis, are you there? Doesn't seem so. Okay, well then let's see. Then I think I would just kick it off. My name is Marcus. I am a senior manager with the PVC in Denmark, and hopefully when he's online again, I will be joined by Theis Eichel. He is a partner in PwC here in Denmark. We actually have a common past from a company that offers measurement services on source code, which is called a software improvement group, which is active both in Europe and actually also in the US. So maybe we can just switch to Theis's CV, maybe. Tracy, if you could. Yes. So that's Theis. He's actually a very well-known figure in the Nordics IT market, and especially in the Nordic market for software intelligence.
Marcus?
Yes, you're there. Hi, Theis. Thanks. Saved on the goal line. So then you can present yourself.
Okay. Yes, thank you so much, and thanks, Dave, for handing over. As Marcus said, I could hear all you said, but we are having some problems in signing in this media. But anyway, our job today is to give you insight in why we as PwC are having a strong focus on standards and benchmark. Combined with some examples, or as we would call it in this presentation, some war stories. So Marcus just took you through the agenda, and just a little bit about myself. So I've been in this industry for plus 25 years in various positions, but mainly with the focus on mainframe hosting and mainframe offload or legacy modernization, support to core bank solutions such as Temenos, Fidelity, and SDC. And I've been in the software intelligence market space for quite some time as well. And I even started as a bank clerk, so I've also been a practical element of a normal bank daily operations. So Tracy, could we have next page, please? So I'll just try to give you a little bit of background and both on our IT management and in combination with Marcus giving some words on our financial services. And the reason for this is to explain why we have a strong focus on standards and benchmark. It's essential, and I'll come back to it when we speak a little bit about our methodology. And of course, when we come to our war stories, it's essential. What is important on this slide is it's a normal way that PwC explains its organization. We are divided into assurance, advisory, and tax. And just to explain that in advisory, we have a consulting division. And as part of the consulting division, you see such brands as strategy and also where I am, IT management. Tracy, if I could have the next page, please. Then, Marcus, could you give a couple of words on financial services?
Yes, sure. Thanks, Theis. What we have basically, like besides our consulting business, is that we have collected all the competencies with the industry focus for financial services. So we cover actually, we have our financial services department covers all professional services, from actually tax assurance and then over to real estate, and also in the consulting and technology, like deep down into the technology. So because you can't have a financial service without IT, right? So and our two main focuses here is digitization and its compliance. And this is where the benchmarks come in. It is well, you can't be compliant without without having control of your IT, and you can't do proper digitization if you don't have control over your technical debt, your processes, and your IT organization in general. So that's what I wanted to say about the financial services.
Thank you, Marcus. If we could go to the next. So this slide is really not a slide I will read from all over the until the end. It's more to say that we have some experience in which challenges drives this market and which actions helps the clients and what impact it has. And I want to deep dive a little bit into the challenges and asking for the next slide. Yes, thanks. So if we look at the market perspective seen from PwC, we want to have a strong focus on standards and benchmark, because what we experience as independent advisors is that many clients are having troubles like unacceptable quality of software, unacceptable delays in projects due to complex code or poor quality of code, overspending on budgets, demands for cost reductions, or new legislation that needs to be implemented, or even legacy exit strategies that needs to be met, and not the least also to have a firm grip of their vendors. Vendors in the meaning that it could be external vendors, but it could also be delivery places or deliverers coming from inside of the company. So what is the deal between the client on one side and the vendor on the other side? And the purpose and the goal of today is to show you this explanation about why we as PwC want to and thinks it's necessary to transform this fluffy world of software. I mean, what is? It's not something you can take a firm grip on. It's not a physical product, but we want to find ways where we can actually transform the software into a physical product. So if you buy a car or you buy a house, what you want to do is to have an evaluation of how good is this car and how stable is it, or how long will it last, or whatever. And that's essentially why we want to focus on the players that are best of breed in the market space when it comes to standards, benchmark, and also the ability to give us instruments where we can transform technical insight into management understanding. And that management understanding is really key for our services, so we can backtrace our findings into something that is really tangible and also well proven around the globe. And in that context, we as I mentioned, we want to partner with the dominant players within. CISQ is obviously one of them. We also want to align with certain ISO standards. We also want to work with the best of breed companies in the area of software compliance, cast as one example. So this is just to say that many of the clients that we meet out there, they are facing exactly this. This is daily life. So when you are a CX level, you simply maybe even you don't understand what's really going on in the machine room of IT, and certainly when it comes to facing pressure from a deadline, or that you want to put something in production because it has to be time to market and so forth. We've seen over and over again that it becomes difficult, and this is where we want to take our offset into this discussion. So, Tracy, could I ask for the next one, please? So in our old setup, this is a methodology, and most companies would, of course, explain their methodology in such a way. So it's not new in that context, but how we see it is that the classical way we want to be part of the helping clients in the project governance and in the supporting processes, also the integrated suppliers and what's behind that, the quality management and delivery model. What is kind of new in this model is to have software intelligence built into this methodology, and that is simply because we need to understand what's behind the software. We need to understand if it has the right if it has the right quality, or at least get early warnings if it's not according to what you as a client expects. Next, please. Another way of describing it is the life cycle of a buy, build, operate process. And this is really where we are building the standards and metrics benchmark into what we call PVC application intelligence platform. It's where we want to be in control on behalf of the client if the vendor delivers according to promises or contract, or if it's going off rails. So we have sufficient time and in time to fix things the best way possible. One question I'm often asked is, but what about the vendor? Will the vendor sort of step back from this process? And our experiences when we started this up many years ago was that they did at that time, but it's becoming more and more common in the market space that the vendors, they actually also see a huge benefit in delivering projects on time, to the right quality, and according to contracts. So I know, Dave, that we've discussed it before, but I mean, this movement of getting metrics into the real world, or make it practical as a practical instrument, that is what I'm going to swift over to when we talk about war stories. So next slide, please. Yes, and next again. Yes, thanks. So this client is a confidential client, so I can't unveil the name of the client, but we are assisting this client in establishing and designing a call for tender regarding procurement of critical infrastructure. So what we are really talking about in this case is that we have a public tender. It's national security. There's a need for strong compliance, and we've worked intensively also with the state lawyer to ensure that these things are in place. So what we've actually claimed in the tender is that there's a normal process for when acquiring equipment that you also see to the physical product that it's according to compliance, or it's compliant. What we've actually claimed in this case is also to have the software handed over. And this for the purpose of a depth analysis to make sure that that there are no certain defined CVEs in the software, and that we've been very clear in the tender material to point out specific metrics that they need to adhere to in order to qualify for the tender. So you can imagine that it's been a process where we've both have been involved in talking to the client, to the markets, but also to have discussions on what is feasible in this regard. But we see it as more and more common that you build into contracts that you want to state specific metrics in order to sign a contract with a vendor, and ultimately to tie this framework of metrics into the payment plan. So we have examples where we have also implemented metrics that was directly connected to a payment scheme. So, dear vendor, it's wonderful. We will get started, and you will build something fantastic for us. But you need to adhere to these quality levels in order to get your money. And we've even worked on a certain factor on when you succeed. So if it's 100. We've even worked on contracts where the vendors even get more money if they exceed the expectations for quality. So really an interesting case where it's proven working together with the state lawyer, and also to in a bit unusual way to set a clear instructions on KPIs or metrics into the tender material to be able to make sure that also the software coming out of this product is compliant. We call this concept PPC compliance rule. So Tracy, can I please have the next one? And Marcus, maybe you could give
yes.
Give us a presentation of this
yes.
setup.
Yes, so that would be mine, and it's an example from the world of digitization, actually, not from the world of compliance. Just to underline, like, that there is also some real business changing appliances of these metrics. We had the question under Kevin's presentation So what about all the old legacy systems, and if there might be a speed up in addressing the legacy and technical debt issues that are with the old and large core systems still running on COBOL and the mainframe in the financial services industry. So, and this is actually what this war story is about. So we help a couple of clients, both from the banking, the insurance, and the life and pension world, with modernizing the core systems. Actually, a lot of those core systems, as I said, they're still running on mainframe, and often, like for one client, which is a CSD, it is actually like really critical infrastructure. So if anything goes wrong in your security deficit handling, then usually you have the Prime Minister calling and asking when you are up again. So how do you go about and modernize such a critical part of the infrastructure? Modernization of legacy systems is always a high-risk project. So how do you control it? So and what we do here is we combine actually a top-down and a bottom-up approach, which we call our sandwich methodology. And for the bottom-up approach, we actually use the software risk analysis and the same tools and the same metrics that Theis uses for contracts and for compliance. So the truth about your legacy systems is there, right? It's in the code. You don't need to rely on the memory of your staff. You don't need to rely on people that already have gone on pension. You can analyze the code you have. You can get a risk overview, and if you combine that with the business capabilities that those the business services that those software components are providing, then you actually can make like a really fact-based plan for how to migrate a legacy system service by service in a controlled way, and actually with a limited risk picture. So as I said, we've been doing this for a CSD, we've been doing this for a software as a service provider in the life and pension and the insurance business, and we've been doing this for a life and pension company. Yes, that would be then the next war story is Theis again.
Yes, and thank you, Tracy. Just to give you another example of where we transform metrics into practical instruments is a reference case we have where we have worked closely together with a public industry client in this case that really had problems in understanding the deliverances from their vendor or their partner, and the objective in this case was really to mitigate and make sure that the parties would understand each other going forward. And for that purpose, we again did analysis based on intelligence tools, and making sure that we could state what was actually the state of work based on objective metrics, and it shows every time to be very effective that you can really base yourself on a way of discussing together where it's objective and where it's also fair, because it's not every time that it's only the vendor's fault. It might be a mixture between all sorts of things going on. The last example we have today is that we are onboarding certain systems into a framework or an overview monitoring where we are having a great insight into what is technical debt and what is the situation when it comes to the overall quality of systems, in order to give management insight in what is actually our heat map looking like, and which actions should we take as the next thing to do, and which applications are at a higher level focus-wise than others. Again, we are transforming the metrics and the benchmark into something that is tangible and something that is really practical. So it's transforming the theory into some practical tools or practical methodologies that we can use on daily practice in order to help our clients. So, Dave, that was more or less my presentation. So maybe you have some questions.
Yeah, so one of the questions, well, first of all, thank you both for presenting. And it's always fascinating to when you're chatting to auditors to actually get an insight in terms of what their mindset and where they're coming from. So the first question we have, and I can't see who actually asked it, but I remember the question. So is around the issue of security and being in compliance. The fact that there are many organisations that have had security issues, and the vast majority of those organisations were in full compliance. So how do we make sure we don't get into a situation of being complacent, where the organisation says, well, we're in compliance, we should be okay, when the reality is the bad guys don't care what your compliance is. The reality is compliance quite often lags behind what the threats might be. So how do you have that mindset that says compliance is obviously important, but it doesn't always mean you really are secure? There's still other things you might need to do.
No, exactly, and that's why I continue to mention the thing about being practical, because I fully agree with you. There's a long way from theoretical work and paper to a daily operation, and our experiences and my experience is that it's a matter of speed. So we need to speed up the process of bringing metrics to life, so to speak. So it's really important for us that we are able to transform what's behind the standards and what's behind the benchmark to operations, to daily work, to something that you can base decisions on as fast as possible. So in our way of working with clients, we design and we make sure that we have optimal ways of going by this, and that we, as fast as possible, we can react to used information. I'm not saying it's easy, because it's not, but it's certainly something that we are pushed to do, because we see so many examples on security vulnerabilities and threats. So it's simply something the industry and clients and vendors are forced to do. Our work as PwC and a strong brand within assurance is, of course, to present the best possible, and this is also what our clients rely on, that we do our utmost to be up to speed.
Sorry, I was on mute there. So thanks for that. So it is a balance in that. So, I mean, we have to go more than just compliance. I mean, and building on that, what about third parties? Because one of the things that we've discussed in the past is the relationship between the auditor, the financial enterprise organization, and their suppliers. What have you seen work to align that, as seamless as we can, and get the third parties, to get the system integrators on side and align what you're trying to do with your clients?
So just to understand, what do you mean by third parties?
So if system integrators, consultancies, offshore organizations that will actually building the solutions that will go into a financial institution that you're then auditing.
Yeah, but I think that those guys and the clients, they have a common goal. No one is meeting in at work to produce bad code. I mean, there's not an incentive to be bad at your work, and when seeing it that way and explaining it that way, there's actually a natural interest on the third party side to produce as cost effective as possible. And research has shown that it's not more expensive to build good quality than to build poor quality. So there's a built-in interest to secure that we have better projects, that we have projects on time, that we have as high a quality as it makes sense, at least, because it's more efficient, it's more cost effective, it gives a better bottom line. But you are right. I mean, there are some resistances in looking at it this way, because it means that you, as a third party, you simply need to rethink the way you deliver. And it's, you know it better than anyone. I mean, it takes some to get there, right?
So building on that, so thank you for that answer, and kind of building on that, do you think it's enough that organizations have the relevant dashboards and scorecards, or should we be going further and contractualizing this, actually putting the language into the contracts to assure we have the software quality? I might be leading the witness there, but so dashboards versus contracts.
It's both, and it's also to realize that if you want to keep up with what's happening out there security-wise and so forth, you simply need to step up. And as advisory and assurance to many clients, it would be an advice that we would give any client in any other aspect. So of course, we have to give the same advice when it comes to IT and software. Software is here to stay, and it's getting more and more and more important. And we also see clients that if they have downtime in 1 to 3 days because of security issues, they are out of business. So that's how important it is, and it should be taken extremely serious. Why it's not this way these days, even, I don't know. Maybe it's because IT has been immature for many years, but it has to be the way we go forward.
So thank you for that. And got one here from Colin Hammond. So Colin, welcome. To what extent do you consider that the requirements documentation can give you an indication of the system quality and insecurity? And that's always an issue, isn't it? How valid are the requirement documents, and what insight do they really give you about that system?
Yes, I fully agree, and it's a topic for discussion every single time. But one way of going about it is really to have to focus on also to give the vendors some free space to deliver, as long as they deliver good quality of code. But if you don't measure the quality of code, then you need to have a strict way of defining everything inside code. So we've seen contracts that contained maybe 5,000 or 10,000 requirements, and that's where it gets extremely complex. There's no simple answer to this. It all depends on optimal good people that are meant to be good at describing requirements and also to follow up on it. So how we see it is that you can't just do one thing in order to secure good deliveries or good code or fulfillment of requirements. You need to do a full palette of things, and also new things that are coming, including metrics, including demands in contracts in another way than you are used to.
Okay, thanks for that. And I think that whole issue about requirements has always been problematic. I mean, certainly whilst I've been in the industry, it's always very difficult, especially when you get systems where there are thousands of requirements involved, to really understand how they relate to each other, and in some cases undermine each other from a security perspective. So a question here about GRC. So in terms of the role that GRC plays in an organization, how do you see that progressing, and how do you see, is GRC really being active enough in getting down to the right level? I mean, do GRC functions, internal functions, really understand the issues around structure and code quality and how they impact risk in the organization?
No, I tend to agree that they haven't had or don't have enough impact in that way, and that's why we've built this concept of a compliance room. What it really means is that you go practical about testing the equipment or the software that you are going to build, and make sure that it's compliant to a set of rules that you stick to, including setting up the right relevant metrics according to the possibilities the tech stack gives you. But on the other hand, that you also make sure that your contract management is aligned with that work, and that you make sure that there's a really good tight connection between contract management and others, and what's actually going on in the IT department. And so it's a tight thing between going on between procurement, between contract management, between IT, and we have had to define that in a way where all these instances can talk together and actually be aligned about what's going to happen, but also be aligned on how they go about this new way of govern. So there's an agreement on how to stick to the rules, so to say.
So
does it make sense?
It does, and I think I mean, with my experience, with working with GRC organisations, quite often, sometimes they feel it's not even their responsibility to get to that level, or they're kind of blind spotted by that particular risk, and which is a shame, because if you don't get those fundamentals right, then you can't build on the rest. And I got an observation here from Daniel Herring, and just kind of the last one. I mean, it does feel to me that as an industry, we are improving in the finance sector, and slowly but surely things are moving hopefully in the right direction, and that the suppliers and vendors that we deal with recognize how important compliance and security is. Do you think there's, and actually in your personal experience and Marcus as well, do you deal with other sectors? Do you find that you're quite often maybe talking outside of the banking and finance sector and using practices and experience you've gleaned from the finance sector? Do you think we're ahead there, or do you think we're lagging behind?
So let me start commenting, and then I'll hand over to Marcus. Tracy, before that, maybe you could swap to the last page. Yeah, I just want to show all the nice people that are also behind Marcus and myself, plus even more. But the question at hand, what's really an observation from my side is that every sector thinks they are extremely special. But when it comes to enterprise, I don't think that it's the domain as such that is really special from one to the other. Because if you're implementing SAP, I mean, SAP is a big thing anyway, right? And but what's really important, no matter what industry you are in or what sector you are in, is to have a modern governance, a modern way of going about your handling of the development of your IT systems or your procurement of new things. And that's really where I see that organizations are not that willing to take upon new things that are as important in order to comply to the new world. Marcus, do you have a point on this?
Oh, it's I'd say the answer is it depends. Like there is not the financial industry or any other industry, right? So what we see here in Denmark is that as you also see from the war stories, that the public industry is using that actually broadly, and that's also because there is that requirement from the public for transparency, right? That you might not always have to the same degree in publicly owned, in privately owned companies. That's the one thing. The other thing is like Danish financial institutions are not necessarily broadly very modern institutions when it comes to software development. So that has not taken that much. I don't apologize for Ida. Just say hi to Ida. That is one of the white swans these days. Hi Ida. Sorry. Where was I when the little girl just threw me off? So we see that in the financial industry, but it is mainly used in like the faster moving areas, and not so much on like the core systems and the backend code, where the opinion often is that, yeah, we know it's bad. So yeah,
they've just got used to living with it. They've just got used to living with that technical debt so long. It's just
yeah, exactly. It's
given in almost.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, and I think that's a common story with large amounts of technical debt. So I think that's all the questions we have at the moment. I mean, I've got loads of questions. I mean, one question I'm actually going to ask is around metrics and measures. I mean, you can have hundreds of these, but in your experience, what are the key groups of measures we should be looking at, and potentially ones that maybe we haven't thought about? And so, if you could kind of finish with maybe talking a little bit about on the measurement side, that'd be really cool.
Absolutely. So You are exactly right. I mean, take any tool on the market and it can spit out thousands of metrics, and you simply need to be careful, because you need to choose a relevant section of metrics in order to make it relevant for decision taking. Otherwise, it's just another add-on to not having the right overview. But what is, in my experience, really important to have a strong focus on is, of course, security aspects. So the most known vulnerabilities. It's also important to have the quality set right. So you need to understand, and you need to implement a way of looking at quality that makes sense to the specific tech stack you are working on. And I'm not saying that it needs to be premium all over the place, and it needs to be to be factor 100. I'm saying that it needs to be practically possible to implement something that has a fair and a good standard when it comes to quality. Because if it doesn't have the right quality, it will show in so many ways when it comes to complexity, or if it comes to code that is not able to be tested. And we see that time and time after again, that it's not enough just to measure on the test coverage. You simply need to verify, and you need to prove that you have the right test strategy, and that you can prove it via metrics. So I would say that test coverage, complexity, and quality, and security leads to many other aspects that you need to take into consideration. So those three main areas will give you further insights into areas like technical debt, which is also extremely important, or the ability to move to the cloud. It's another aspect we see at the moment is a hot topic. Or, as mentioned before in one of the other questions, that you are able to have an up-to-date way of looking into that you don't have security issues, that you don't have third-party license problems or other vulnerabilities.
So when a supplier says to me that I've got, high degree of test coverage, or even a magic, 100, which never really happens, I shouldn't be complacent. I need to dig deeper to make sure that I understand how well they are doing in terms of looking at overall complexity, performance issues, and going above and beyond what might be deemed by the auditors from a security perspective.
Yes.
Okay.
Otherwise we see it time after time that you end up in a situation where you need to pay extraordinary money to get in control. So you better put the governance in place first off. Thanks.
Absolutely, that's a good message to leave on. So thank you, Marcus and Theis for that. That was much appreciated.